With Indiana Jones and the Great Circle just around the corner, I was interested to look a bit further after my prior video. There are some other elements that are giving me some more concern, and while some stuff is specifically related to the game itself, there are other elements that might even seem to be new practices within the industry, and I personally think that sort of stuff just needs to stop as pertaining to this. There's these modern tweakings and even trigger warnings coming with our entertainment, and even worse, this is something that is being placed on older TV shows, movies, and even games as a means for that modern audience to not get offended. I remember the day when we could just watch or play or anything like that without needing a trigger warning or something like that. Then I have seen some other things related to the Great Circle being tossed around as it pertains to reviews coming out for this title and even some of the pre-order numbers. And sadly, it seems like more of these are causing more red flags to show up for indie. So let's start out with the pre-orders. I saw something floating around Twitter showing that apparently the pre-orders for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle are rather low. Some are even saying that the pre-orders are even lower than Dragon Age the Velguard. But hey, the big media told us that game had a strong and large amount of players, and there was nothing to worry about a big budget 10-year developed game. So then indie should be doing just okay, right? Wrong. One, nothing really good related to Dragon Age's sales ever came out. If it actually is selling well, then where are the articles boosting up the sales? Indie having lower pre-order numbers than something like Dragon Age is rather concerning. But you could also say that maybe the low numbers are that Indiana Jones is going to be coming to Xbox Game Pass. Now that is an interesting point too. The game is going to launch for you to buy it, but you can also play it on Xbox Game Pass at any time. So that would mean that the game could actually have poor sales with less people actually buying it. But it could have a higher player count with the Game Pass subscribers, playing the game or even seeing people sign up just to try that game. This is going to make it hard to see if the low pre-order numbers actually translates to lower sales and all of that. What might end up being a good comparison is Stalker 2. That game launched on Game Pass and on PC as well, just like Indie. Stalker 2 though sold over 1 million copies, with many saying that numbers were even higher with the player count because of Game Pass 2. So if we see Indie hitting similar or better numbers, we might even have a good indication if the game is actually doing well. Regardless of all of that with Game Pass, I do wonder if much of this plays into the fact that the game has very little hype surrounding it. I wonder if a big part of this is because of the audience for Indie is much older. I also think that Bethesda is trying to play it closer to the chest with this game too, but we'll get into that soon as well too. So for Indie, you have an older audience. The core fans love the 3 films, me included. Heck, I even enjoyed the 4th, even though it wasn't really as good as the prior 3. But I think something else playing into a few other things is that prior film, released last year with The Dial of Destiny, was that it really wasn't well received. It was a flop for Disney, and that means big money, and even tried to team him up with Hollywood boner repellent Phoebe Waller-Bridge, you know, to really bring in more viewers. But like that, the movie just didn't do very well. Legacy fans did not like it. Potentially newer fans didn't care for the movie either. It couldn't even attract some type of an audience, so the current image surrounding Indie is not a strong one. I think this factors into 2 things. One, reviews for the game are being held back. There are not going to be any early reviews until the game can be bought. This is usually a really big red flag for a game. It generally shows that the publisher, studio, or whoever is not confident in that game at all. So waiting until the 11th hour to put your reviews out means you want to potentially sucker in some unsuspecting players into buying it. Now I want to flip this as well. So yes, we all agree that no early reviews can be a major red flag for a game, but one reason why the publisher might be waiting like this for reviews is because of that public image of Indie right now. They might be playing it closer to the chest, in that they are unsure how people will actually take the game. How will it be received? Either way, I do not know why the reviews are being held back, but this, along with other things, are a lot of things to consider with this title. Something else I want to touch on too that I honestly think just needs to die off in entertainment, and I was disappointed to see it pop up in this game as well. So in Indiana Jones the Great Circle, it's going to include a disclaimer, because we'll be fighting the bad guys from World War II. So I have so many problems with this. One, why does a teen-rated game need a disclaimer, right? I feel that it's pretty simple. This is teen, and it's not even an M-rated title, and I'm not saying that Indie should be M-rated, because it shouldn't. The big thing here is that you look at the original 3 films that Spielberg and Lucas made. Did those have any disclaimers? disclaimers in them? No, they didn't. They just made their movie and that was that. So why can't we have that for games anymore? I have played many older titles that had quote-unquote offensive stuff in the game. Usually they fit the context of that game too. I even hated when I saw this stuff added into the Mafia 2 remaster. Yes, I'm playing a Mafia game. They are going to throw out some harsh words. And you know what? I want them to do that because it fits the context of that story. Same with indie. If I'm going to be playing an indie game set between Raiders and Crusade, the typical bad guys are going to show up there. This is not the worst aspect of modern writing or the modern audience stuff, but this is right there an example of this nonsense, and it needs to be forgotten about. Just tell your story, make your game, and stop with the warnings with this, please. The more I look into the Great Circle, it would seem that stealth is going to be playing a larger role here. Now, if you told me that an indie game was being made, I wouldn't think it needs stealth. Like, look at the action scenes from the films. You would expect more something like you would see in the Uncharted series, or even Tomb Raider. The action in indie is big, bombastic, loud, and very, very fun. I do hope that the game does have enough of those types of sequences, because indie really isn't a Sam Fisher or Solid Snake. He is big, loud, lots of explosions, punches, and improvising. I can see how stealth could lend itself to allowing for some more options in combat and such, which is a pretty cool concept. I just hope that the game has enough of that indie classic flavor in the gameplay sequences for it all to make sense. They need to make sure to go big enough in that game. I know some players are worried about the new lady companion for indie. If they do this right, she can be really good. If they do it like a modernized game writing kind of thing, then indie is going to be belittled and she is going to overshadow him. This is something that neither of us want. As indie fans, we want more good side characters. Indie has plenty of good ones. Hopefully she ends up being one of those and not more of a girl boss. Back to my points about pre-orders and lack of hype. There does seem to be like Microsoft and Bethesda don't really have a lot of confidence in this title. I really hope that isn't the case. Indie has such a rich history, great films, and even some good games too. This is a character and series that should be given the Terminator Resistance or RoboCop Rogue City treatment. I hope this turns out to be a good one, but I continue to be concerned and cautious about it. What are your thoughts on the Great Circle? Is it looking good? Did you even pre-order it? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you can help to keep this channel going strong, and this allows me to be able to do more for my awesome audience. Please check out the links in the description and pinned comment for ways to support the channel. And most of all, thank you very much for watching.